The Blue Archive JP 5.5 anniversary has ended, so let's summarize everything.
ブルーアーカイブだ。
初期として全部記録してますよ。避けてください。ほら笑って笑って。あら呼んだかしら先生。私が塗ってあげるから遠慮しないでちょうだい。
羽沼誠、ここにあり。ケケケケ、ここをゲヘナの海とする造作者だ。
はいはい、ちゃんといますよ。こんなものまで武器にしないといけないんですか。これでもどうぞ。いぶきと遊んでくれるの？見て見て、きれい。こっちのかわいいのあげる。
We're getting a Gehenna summer event featuring the Pandemonium Society members in swimsuits. The event gives you S-Chayaki for free, while the others appear on the limited and fest banners. S-Chayaki is a special piercing DPS. Her kit looks really useful for the upcoming Gebura Grand Assault. Since we don't have any other special piercing DPS, she'll most likely become the main DPS for heavy armor Gebura. So far, everything looks good. Her kit isn't overwhelmingly powerful, but it's definitely useful. The limited banners, where you can use the free 100 pulls, feature S Makoto and S Satsuki. S Makoto's kit is basically Mystic Aru. She deals damage to a single enemy, then creates an explosion that deals AoE damage based on the number of enemies caught within its range. The more enemies inside the explosion, the more AoE damage she deals. That makes her potentially useful against Pirorodzilla, Gregorius, Kurokoge Grand Assault, or any raid that benefits from Mystic AoE damage. Although I'm still unsure, as a Hoshino will remain the optimal choice regardless of terrain. Her basic skill increases her attack and grants stacks called Charisma. These Charisma stacks are referenced in her sub-skill, which increases her critical rate. While she has Charisma, her attacks have a chance to apply def down to special armor enemies before dealing damage. That's quite good against special armor bosses with high defense. Her enhanced skill simply increases her attack. Overall, everything looks good from what I can see. S Satsuki appears as a striker healer. Unlike the currently available striker healers such as Kokona and Imari, once enough stacks are accumulated, all allies receive a 1x skill cost reduction. This expired hag works quite differently. Gains stacks every time she uses her X skill, which heals a selected ally and herself while also providing an attack buff through her sub-skill. Although her sub-skill only activates after reaching 3 stacks, I'm still unsure where she'll actually be useful. However, having another healer for Gebura as a second team might still be valuable. Her basic skill is also quite useful, applying def down to enemies, which is generally a valuable debuff against raid bosses. While she looks somewhat underwhelming, she seems like she'll be very useful for Gebura Torment, and probably Hieronymus, and other raid bosses that has high defense and required striker healer in the field. Though I still don't like this expired tool hack, so I might just reconsider and prioritize pulling my Lolis first, which would be the Fest banner. So, SI Roha and SI Buki are the Fest students. SI Buki is a special support. Her first X skill lets you select 2 students and mark them with friend status. Assuming it's limited to 2 targets, they'll most likely be your main DPS and sub DPS. After that, her X skill card immediately appears again. Whenever a student marked as friend uses their X skill, Ibuki gains 3 stacks of seashell, up to a maximum of 12. She then consumes all of those stacks to gain shell flower. Her second X skill increases the critical damage of all allies marked as friend. If she has shell flower, the amount of critical damage is increased even further. Just hearing about her X skill alone, she already sounds like a broken special support for 2 DPS characters, or a main DPS and sub DPS combination. With all of that said, I'm really looking forward to seeing how useful she ends up being. Her basic skill activates every few seconds, and grants different buffs depending on the role of the student marked as friend. Attackers receive critical damage. Supports receive heal over time. Healers receive increased healing. Tanks receive increased defense. If both friend targets share the same role, such as 2 DPS, 2 tanks, 2 supports, or 2 healers, the buff value is doubled. If she has shell flower, the buffs become even stronger and last longer. For real though, that's a wall of text. To put it simply, friend status works best on 2 students with the same role. Different roles are still fine, but they are more situational. Her basic skill also becomes stronger and lasts longer once Ibuki gains shell flower through her X skill. Her passive skill increases healing, which is decent for helping supporters survive. Her sub skill is honestly one of the best sub skills for a special student. It increases X skill cost recovery, which is practically irreplaceable and always valuable. She's not only small, flat, and tight, but she also provides incredible support and massive buffs for 2 DPS characters. Well, she is a FEST student after all. Skipping her would probably be a mistake. The other FEST student is SI Roha. She's a striker explosive DPS. Her X skill description is honestly way too long. But to summarize it, she deals guaranteed critical damage to an enemy, and applies suitcase status to that target. Her designated partner accumulates damage while attacking that enemy. Once the timer expires, all accumulated damage is dealt, which works similarly to Wakamo's X skill. From what I understand, it also has a damage cap. Her basic skill increases attack for herself and her partner. Her enhanced skill increases critical damage. Her sub-skill designates one student as her partner, prioritizing the attacker with the highest critical damage. Overall, SI Roha feels more like a sub-DPS that functions similarly to Wakamo, but for light armor enemies. On top of that, she also buffs her partner. So that's about it. As for me, I'm definitely pulling for these 2 small, flat, and tight girls. I don't really care about the expired hags, but all of them seem to have the potential to be useful. S. Chiaki, the welfare student, will most likely be effective against heavy armor Gebura. S. Makoto's AoE damage should be useful against Gregorius, Kurokoge Grand Assault, or any other boss that requires Mystic AoE. S. Satsuki, as an additional striker healer, is very welcome for Gebura's second team. At the very least, her healing and armor type should work well there. S. Ibuki has the potential to become the best in-slot special support for 2 DPS teams. SI Roha will most likely become the preferred sub-DPS alongside Dihina. Overall, they're all good, so I recommend pulling for them rather than skipping them. Additional information. Shanhaijing finally gets its own furniture theme. It looks a little weird, but I actually like the overall design. The selective regular 3-star and selective limited 3-star tickets are back. If you're a whale, these tickets are absolutely worth buying to obtain a meter or niche student. I'll let you know which students are worth selecting once they're released, but for now, Kizuki seems to be the best choice for the regular ticket. As for the limited ticket, I think Imari is the best option. I'm not completely sure yet, though. I'll check again later. Certain special students now have carry and lift animations. A nice quality of life feature for LARPers who only watch summarized story videos. Fest elves are now available for purchase. I think each one costs around $20. Buying all of them would cost more than $200. Honestly, I don't understand the point of this. If you have $200 to spare, just give it to me instead. Nexon never supports us, yet somehow they choose people who hate Blue Archive for sponsorships. Damn you, Nexon. Or you could just buy Chocopuni, or other physical merchandise that's actually worth owning, instead of these ridiculously expensive digital items that are only available for 72 hours. There's also another one of those paid bundles. Not worth buying because of the archive tickets. A new Battle Pass season has also been announced. It includes SI Roha's exclusive Segs bench furniture, along with what appears to be an animated tag and an avatar frame. This is the first time they've added an avatar frame to the Battle Pass. More FOMO exclusive items, I guess. But that tag looks familiar. Free-to-play players can safely ignore this. Virtual Aptitude Test is a new feature that apparently increases your students' stats. It might work similarly to the current stat limit break system, but with different upgrade materials. Those materials come from an entirely new game mode, which I honestly have no idea about yet. The main story is also receiving an update. We're finally entering the Gehenna arc in Season 2. And finally, the gacha renewal. Spark has been removed and replaced with a new pity system. Your pity point gradually increases as you continue pulling. At 100 pulls, you're guaranteed a 3-star student, but it's still only a 50-50 chance of getting the featured student. If you lose the coin flip, you'll have to keep pulling until you obtain the featured student. At 200 pulls, you're guaranteed the featured student. However, if you obtain the featured student before reaching 200 pity, your pity immediately resets back to 0. And that should be all. As always, Godspeed.